Hello and welcome back to The Motivating Force. Joining me as always, we have host Sway, an aspiring Marine Corps officer who's finishing up ROTC and his bachelor's in the criminal justice field, and myself, Justin, a motivational speaker who's always more than excited to share all of our wonderful ideas and topics with you guys. Today we're keeping it pretty simple for a Monday. I know I say that every week, but that kind of is the goal. Today we're going to be talking about loving the process, not the goal. So this is an interesting idea because we always spend so much time focusing on the goal, focusing on the vision, and making sure we have this clear, defined path to get there. And a lot of times people fail to get there.
Yeah.
And what we've found out over the years of studying and research into these types of things is that people who end up falling in love with the process of achieving their goals make it much further ahead in life than everybody else. And we're going to dive deep into that today and kind of give you guys some ideas and some ways to switch your mindset, gear yourself towards working towards your success.
I mean, I like that because it's almost like life. You have to enjoy the journey and then you eventually get to that destination. So appreciating the process of getting to the goal is just as important as the goal itself.
Yeah, and I know we do talk all the time about appreciating the little things and making sure that people find value in that, but there is a distinct difference between setting up milestones and kind of gauging your progress versus actually loving the process, and that's what we're going to dive into today. And there are really two ways that you guys can go about being more successful and accomplishing more things in your life on a more reliable basis, and I'm going to dive into both of those.
So 2 ways being like stop being on your phone and stop sleeping in all day.
That's one way, but I mean, I think that's kind of an all-around proven thing to kind of help yourself.
Yeah, those are the 2 obvious ones.
Yeah. No, we're not going to get too obvious into that. But jumping into the first thing is, well, okay, here's the 2 things, right?
Okay.
All right. The first step would be to either chunk the dream up into bite-sized pieces, which is a strategy that is used for people who successfully pass like special forces in the military.
Okay.
And it's through a process called compartmentalizing.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And the second way we can go about doing things to be more reliable in our success is to love the process like athletes do. So athletes work hard and train hard, not for the championship, but for the fact of training hard and working hard.
Okay.
And that's the key difference between more successful athletes versus non.
Yeah.
So like the big examples like Kobe Bryant after he won his first championship.
I would have gone Jordan, but okay.
Yeah. Well, no, because this is what actually happened, right?
Yeah.
And he texted his coach for his personal fitness coach, right? Not like the coach of the team, and said, okay, I'll see you tomorrow at 4 a.m. in the gym, because that's when he worked out.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, dude, you just won a NBA championship. Aren't you going to take a day off? Aren't you going to go out and party or something like that and enjoy what you just did? And he's like, no.
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, that's why he's as great as he is, because he's willing to put in that time.
Exactly.
And he enjoys that time. Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea between loving the process. And we're going to jump into both of these. Starting off on the more easier one, because it's something that we've already kind of explained and gone through, which is chunking up the dream into bite-sized pieces and using compartmentalization to your advantage. The first thing I want to note is that flexibility comes with the chunks. With that flexibility, you're able to adapt and overcome any types of changes that you may have to make in your goal-setting plan. Because if you just have these goals set for yourself and these big grandeur dreams, as soon as something doesn't go your way, you're kind of at a stopping point. Whereas when you chunk it apart and you compartmentalize all these different things, you're able to, if something's not working out, you only have the small chunk that needs to be readjusted compared to the big picture, because we all know how long it takes to really kind of come up with an idea and a plan for the big picture.
Right. Like when you're saying compartmentalizing, I'm picturing back like when we would go to a restaurant and you would get like a 2-pound burger, you know, you have this massive burger in front of you. And I'm like, how is this guy going to eat it? I know you have the willpower to like shove
Yeah.
that down your face, but I would watch you cut it into smaller pieces. And then that makes it easier on your mind to take it all in. Obviously, you know, you shouldn't be eating a 2-pound burger all the time, but it's the compartmentalizing of the burger that makes the entire goal of eating the whole burger that much easier.
To be fair, that was the special occasion. I was not on a regular basis downing 2-pound burgers. But, you know, when you go to a restaurant and they have a 2-pound burger, you don't see that very often.
You have to get it.
You have to get it, you know? I love how you tied that to that.
That's the first thing that came to mind when you said you split it up into smaller pieces.
Well, there you go. It works with your food, and it also works with your mindset. Yeah. So, but yeah, and with compartmentalizing, it's broken down into smaller chunks than you think.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, especially with like the special forces, it's just trying to get to the next objective.
Okay.
So whether like if you're in surf and buds, right, your whole goal is to just go to the next exercise because you know you're going to get out of the freezing water. Mm-hmm. And when you're out doing the next exercise and you're burning up, you're like, well, hey, at least I get to go back to the freezing water soon.
Yeah.
And it's always this back and forth, and you just keep going to the next meal. Kind of like how you say with running and why you're such a great runner is being able to just, I'm going to the next tree.
I don't know about great runner, but I mean, I get the goal at least.
Better than average. But that's why it comes with that idea of being able to chunk these things up into really small bite-sized pieces. And when you're able to do that, it really takes you further ahead in life because, like we're saying, you can take these smaller individual pieces, and when things go wrong, you only have to get rid of a couple pieces instead of the whole picture.
But I like how you compared it with like buds and stuff, and how like they always have something else to look forward to instead of having to stay miserable in that one exercise that they're doing. So instead of hating your life while you're getting drowned in the freezing water, then like you have a positive outlook on what's to come instead of being miserable. You know, like there's always something that's going to come and in that next step. So it gives you something to look forward to.
Going contrary to the idea of chunking things up here into smaller bite-sized pieces, I did kind of want to cover real quick the power of using a pyramid plan for your goals.
Not a pyramid scheme.
Not a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah. We're not out here to make everybody millionaires overnight because the IRS is just going to come and take it. But it's the pyramid plan for goal planning.
Okay.
And it's kind of amazing because it summarizes probably about 10 episodes that we've had where we've kind of presented forward all these plans that help people make goals, and it kind of wraps it all up into one picture. And I want to get into that a little bit.
Okay. Show the picture. Show the picture.
So this here is the chart that you cannot see, but don't worry, you're probably not seeing me right now, and you're seeing this actual picture on the screen if you're joining us here on YouTube. But at the very top, you start with your vision, right? Because pyramids, you work your way down to the bigger chunks. So the smallest chunk is the vision at the top, and that's what you want to be. That's what you want to do. So the very first thing, of course, that you have to figure out in your goal setting is what you're trying to accomplish. The next bracket down, because again, being able to chunk things apart, is values. And in those values, it's what we believe and what shapes all of our decisions.
Okay.
So what are steps and things that we can do that works towards who we want to be? What are the values that come with that vision, that are required to attain that vision? Going down from that, we have the goals, which is what we must achieve to get our vision. So now we're getting away from that, I don't know, what would you call it, the intangible side, and more towards the tangibility side of things. And that's the goals. What physically needs to be changed? What physically needs to be done in order to get to that vision? Because having the willpower and the discipline for your vision is different than earning the $1 million to be the millionaire.
Yeah.
So,
or like values would be like if it's realistic or not, right? Like you would get to that point before you actually start chasing those goals to go, oh wait, I actually can't do this. So maybe let me change the goal before I get there.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's why when you work your way down on the pyramid, a lot of times you're going to be adjusting the stuff right above it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be like, well, let's be real here, right?
Yeah.
And now we get down to the two biggest chunks of all, which are the action steps, which we've definitely covered with the action planning. So be sure to check out that video. And objectives, which is using SMART goals, which we've also covered, which is, of course, the two foundational cores towards achieving your goals. So guys, it's really important. If you guys have missed those episodes, definitely check them out. We talked about SMART goals. We talked about action planning, what it takes to accomplish those things. And that's what's going to put you so much further towards your vision. And that's kind of how the pyramid breaks down. But what you're able to do when you're implementing all these different types of strategies, it might seem like a headache up front, but in the end, it's really a lot better for you because now you have flexibility. Now you have the ability to adjust and make changes where changes need to be made. Because I guarantee whatever your vision is and where you're at now, it should be such a drastic change in your life that even though you envision that future for yourself, you still don't even know everything that comes with it.
Yeah.
Because you should be dreaming that big, because you have the potential within you to accomplish these things. And you need to have all these extra tools in your tool bag to be able to make that dream a reality.
Well, it's almost like that's why you set out those visions in the first place. You don't want to keep this mundane life that you know so well. So then you try to envision something greater. That way you can also learn on the way to achieve it. That way you expand that knowledge and life experiences. And then that's why, like, the same with college degrees. There's so many people that change their degrees because they have that initial vision of what they want to do. But then as they start learning more about it, then it starts changing. So it's kind of the same thing when you have, life-changing, life-altering goals in mind.
Because your horizon can either broaden or it can get a lot more specific. And neither one of the two are bad or good inherently.
Well, actually, I think it starts broad, and then as you keep learning about it because you don't know much about it, then it starts to shrink, Then it starts getting specific.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there, but as far as like studying goes, you could want to just cover the whole topic, right? Because with medicine and stuff, you have people who want to focus on like the heart or whatnot, and then they realize that, hey,
there's a lot more to
everything's connected in your body, and then they go for a holistic approach on things. Okay. Shout out to holistic everything. Anyways, moving forward. So that's going to kind of wrap up the one way to be more successful and more reliable towards achieving your goals, because we have talked about that before. And I did just want to reiterate that those are still plans that are great. But getting into the meat of the topic today, which is loving the process, I'm so looking forward to this.
And then you said meat of the topic because I mentioned the burgers. I get it. We're keeping that same idea going.
So jumping into loving the process, as I've talked about just very briefly with like Kobe Bryant and what he did, this is where it becomes really important to start loving the process. Everybody has this big grandeur vision of what they want to be in life. And for a lot of people, of course, that's, I want to have all the cars and the houses and the boats and my love life's going to be perfect and I'm going to be making a lot of money and I'm going to have a lot of free time. And it's a lot of things that when they all come together, they don't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And
free time and a lot of money. Okay.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah.
So it's like, you pick two, but you don't get all three.
Yeah.
What happens is when you start loving the process towards these things, you start realizing that no matter which goal you have, whether it comes to more free time, more money, better relationships, it all takes work. You might even think like, oh, well, if I want more free time, that's the laziest thing you could do. And it's like wrong, because if you want more free time, now you have to start saving a lot more money because you should be investing all your money. So that way your money just works for you and you start getting more free time off of that.
Yeah.
So there's all these different things that create a lot of work towards these goals.
Yeah. Or even like if it's going to take a lot of actual work and like a job, and you start like a company for yourself or whatever the case may be, like if you enjoy what you're doing, then it's not going to seem like a miserable day job. Then you'll actually enjoy that part of it. And then, how you said like the 2 out of the 3, then now it's like you get to have all 3 because even that work that you're putting in, you're enjoying it. So it doesn't really feel like you're wasting that time.
that is actually a perfect example of what I'm talking about, because we do always preach that, or, people always do preach that with, if you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
And the same is true for every other aspect of your life. When you're trying to improve yourself personally, if you love what you're doing, it's not going to seem like work. And it's going to be a lot easier to get through and accomplish everything that you want to do. So falling in love with the process, not only does it help with like your dopamine reward system and tricking your brain into enjoying everything.
Yeah,
right?
tricking your brain into enjoying it.
Yeah. Because, if you think about it, if you want to be like this professional athlete and you have to work out 6-7 days a week and you hate going to the gym, how long is that going to last?
Yeah.
Because what we want to do is we want to avoid the burnout process. So if you find ways to get into the gym and you love it, or you start to love it, your body's going to naturally start rewarding yourself every time you go because it's something you like doing. So what happens with that? You're going to do it more and more and more, and your reward system is going to keep churning and churning and churning. And now it's not even going to be about winning the championship. It's going to be about being the best athlete you can be.
So how about finding a balance if it's something that you can't get out of and that you don't enjoy doing, right? Like, for example, when it comes to that working scenario, in my case, I used to work 5 days at the hospital. And with switching to 3 nights, I'm still technically working 5 days because I'm kind of counterbalancing it with working 2 jobs, but 2 extra days with my mom at her little company that she has. And I enjoy that a lot more than the hospital, but it doesn't pay like the hospital. Like the hospital is my primary source of income. So the extra money that I get from this work on the side helps me kind of de-stress from the hospital work, because I'm outside, I'm in fresh air, they have fountains all over the job, so like you hear that relaxing like water sound, and it kind of helps me get through that week, and I'm still working 5 days a week, so it's kind of like a counterbalance that I'm doing.
Yeah, and the advice I have for something like that, because I think specifically you're talking about, well, what about the fact that I might not really like working at the hospital? And that's why I brought up both steps to the process here. This is why before talking about loving the process, which is even the title of this whole freaking video, the first thing I wanted to dive into was how to chunk up your dream, how to chunk up the process, how to compartmentalize. Because if you can compartmentalize well, you're always focusing on what you're going to love to do.
Yeah.
And you're going to be present in the moment enough to do what you have to do. So if you're doing something you don't necessarily like nobody in the special forces is going to sit there and enjoy being in the surf or
buds
pushing the boat,
yeah.
But when you're doing one thing compared to the other, you're really looking forward to enjoying that next step because it gets you in a different environment. So we can do the same thing with our workplace, with the gym, with our relationships. You might not like what you have to do right now with it, especially with like fixing relationships and things like that, because it takes a lot of humility. You got to be really humble. You got to be very introspective, which is hard.
Patient and actually listen when they're telling you a story, so then you can go play video games.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're in that moment and you're compartmentalizing it, that's when you're able to focus on the vision and on the dream and be like, this is helping me get to my end result. So even though I don't necessarily love the fact right now that I have to be open and talk about my emotions or, reflect on myself because you're not about that or something, you're able to do it because you know that the outcome is favorable.
Yeah.
So when you tie these things together in your brain, you're going to start to enjoy the fact, or at least your brain's going to start rewarding yourself for doing those things because you actively know that the next step in this process is closer towards who you want to become. Because there are going to be a lot of things that suck. There is a lot of hard work involved in everything. And that's why you need to get these little tips and tricks inside of your head and really be able to love the process and love the fact that things are going to suck and love the fact that you're going to have to work harder than you want to be able to get where you want to get in life.
With it being tips and tricks, like we kind of do mention the same kind of ideas multiple times, but that's because you can't just take one of these and remember it for the rest of your life or implement it every day. You're gonna you're gonna constantly take in the information, and then sometimes it almost seems like it's too much. So then hearing these different points on multiple different episodes helps you keep that stored in the back of your mind, so then it's a little bit more fresh. Like if we talk about goal planning, 10 episodes, it's for a reason. We're not just going to do one episode on goal planning or how to achieve those goals, because that's probably the most crucial point in your life, and how to change your life is by achieving goals. So when we constantly bring this up, like it's different angles and ways to attack that goal, so then you can live your life and have those little like tips that you can just pull out. They're kind of fresh. You have a bunch of them, or sometimes it's the same one recurring, and that's for your benefit.
In that case, we are all special in the way that we approach things. So because everybody has different life experiences, so certain tips and tricks, or as like I like to refer to as tools in your tool bag, certain tools are going to work better than other tools for you. And at the same time, you need a hammer to hit a nail. Yeah. So you need to be able to use the right tools, but you also need to use the tools that you actually like using to get you further along in your self-discovery and your self-growth, which is why going over and talking about all kinds of different points, like with goal planning, there's multiple different ways you can plan for goals. Yeah. And we've covered those extensively. And that's why even on this episode, I want to reiterate that, because when we get into loving the process is towards goal planning. Yeah. It's
whichever way you try to use it. Like if the compartmentalizing doesn't work for some people, you still have to enjoy whichever goal planning situation you set up for yourself.
For some people, they might not even have to love the process, because there are a lot of super successful, super rich people out there who really kind of don't enjoy that process. Key example being my favorite guy, Elon Musk, right? And I mean, he talks about it all the time. He doesn't really like the process. He doesn't like what he's doing, but his vision is so strong in his mind that he's like, I don't care if these things suck. He knows that, and he's able to work through it. And some people, if that's you, great. Then you don't need this tool. But if you're going to remember this tool is going to be in your bag in case if you are struggling and you do want to use it. Because loving the process isn't something that's going to be mandatory for everybody. And we're not here just trying to give you guys the woo-woo motivation to get your goals accomplished. We're just giving you guys another tool. And that tool is the process you're going through right now. Find the things you enjoy in it. So that way you can start getting some dopamine release now, instead of waiting for all your dopamine at the end. Because if you're just going through this painful staking process of trying to become a millionaire, how much longer do you think it's going to take until you burn out, compared to how long is it going to take for you to get there? Be realistic with yourself. Start chunking it up. The first time you hit $100,000 in assets or something like that, go take a vacation. Go enjoy a little bit of that money. Go to one of the cheapest countries in the world if you want to. Go to Vietnam or Mexico right now, and just for a week. My buddy just went to Mexico. You know how much his hotel was for 7 days? No. $250
for 7 days.
For 7 days.
Oh my god.
It doesn't take much, especially when you get to come out of your little zone and where you think you are in your head and be like, man, if I went to this other country, like, I'm a millionaire right now. Yeah. Go there, take a vacation, enjoy yourself, live a little bit, and then come back and be like, that's what I want to do here. Yeah. And then keep working towards it, because now you're getting more familiar with your vision and you're able to see it a little more.
I mean, I like that, because that almost goes hand in hand with that video that we put out about enjoying your life instead of just like pushing everything to the side and then trying to get to that goal at the end of your life. And like I said at the beginning, you have to enjoy that journey. And I mean, we're kind of going to be doing the like getting away from a little bit. I think 2 weeks after this video comes out, we're going to be taking a little camping trip. We're going to vlog it. We're going to be posting that up for you guys so you can all enjoy that little trip that we're going to be doing, kind of getting away from everything, getting out in nature. It's going to be fun. So look forward to that. Also, remember, you can like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon on this video. You can share this with friends and family. Follow us on our social medias. We have those down in the descriptions below. All of the episodes come out Mondays and Wednesdays. And then for that camping video, it'll probably be like 3 weeks from this one. Once we actually get that one all wrapped up and edited, looks all nice and pretty for you guys. You can check that out. All right.
And until next time, go on and get.